Okay, let's now get to that question of the flag. It is going to be 120 meters, the flagpole that is, and then 10 by 15 meters, the actual flag itself. So that's 150 square meters of flag. Well, to talk about this and get a sense of what something like that might cost, because the design of this project is not clear. We had a guest on last week saying that this would be a massive structure and people would be able to climb to the top. Today, my colleague Clement Magnatella spoke to, again, someone from the Department of Arts and Culture, and they said, well, no, the designs are not in and we haven't seen them yet, so we can't tell them what they look like. I do not think that we are going to, for 22 million rand, get something that people can walk up on large staircases. So let's start with the basics. The pole and the flag. How much ought that to cost? Well, to talk about this, we're joined now by Aydonne Samuels, who's the director of a company called National Flag Branding and Events. Very good afternoon to you, and thank you for your time.
Good evening, and good evening to your listeners.
So a flag 10 square meters by 15, the South African flag, presumably you're looking for some seriously durable material, because once it's up there, it's not going to come down anytime very, very soon. What ought a flag like that to cost?
Well, I think just maybe a correction there.
Okay.
A flag is tangible, so you produce that flag. So
Right.
National Flag and Branding, obviously we're the leading producer of the South African flag, and there are very strict SABS quality requirements, but it's a tangible cloth that you're putting out in the elements.
Right.
So once you put the flag up, it certainly is going to come down. It's got a lifespan of 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
So there's a question of maintenance that you also have to discuss. How often are you going to replace the flag? So to produce a 10 by 15 meter flag, South African flags will be an all-weather range flag. That will be in the proximity of about 30,000 rand.
Okay.
But now understand that would be one flag. Now you would also need to obviously order more than one.
Sure.
Because you obviously want that flag to always look crisp and new, considering it's a South African flag.
Yeah, so 4 flags a year then. You're saying 3 to 4 months. So let's be conservative, particularly with global warming and fierce rain and so on.
Right.
So so for flags, we're in for 120,000 Rand a year. Now, flagpoles. I assume you don't have a showroom for 120 meter flagpoles, but do you, Mr. Samuels, just is it a case of kind of doubling up on what you've made before? First of all, let me ask you this: is a 120 meter flagpole highly unusual?
So let's go and look at an example that's currently in South Africa. Nelson Mandela Bay in 2011, they went and they erected the highest flagpole in South Africa, and that's at 68 meters.
Okay.
And that is at the Donkin Reserve, and that's still up today. And they've done a great job in maintaining the South African flag, flying it down there. And that is at 68 meters. So we know in 2011 they went and they extended that pole from just over 40 meters to 68. It was a 23-meter extension on that pole. And that costing came in at 75,000 Rand at the time. So we are talking about 11 years back.
Okay.
But so I would suggest maybe on this particular project, now we are talking about a steel pole. We've got very little information. We don't have technical drawings.
Right.
It's not a case of just doubling up the size, because the larger and higher the pole would go, your foundations, your requirements would be significantly different. But there is an example currently in Nelson Mandela Bay of 68 meters that obviously cost significantly less.
Right.
So maybe there should be an exercise of looking at what did they use as material and what process did they follow, because that doesn't come close to the 17 million Rand that we read about in the papers today.
Yeah, I assume the 17 million is there's going to be other stuff built around it. But can we settle on a rough cost for 120 meters of good steel and flagpole? And presumably the mechanisms need to be there, the ropes for getting the flag up and down. If it's 75,000 11 years ago, got you roughly halfway, 300,000?
So
do we have a deal?
The flagpole we're talking about in the Duncan Reserve was not steel.
Yes, okay.
So it's a different material that was used. So certainly, yes, a 120-meter flagpole, if it's a very high spec, we don't know where they get, if it's what the requirements was.
Yes, they don't know either.
Yes, so it certainly could be 17 million. The point I'm trying to emphasize, I do believe there could be a much more cost-effective way of erecting that size pole in South Africa.
What about the anchoring and presumably you don't just get a couple of people with high levels of energy and picks to dig a hole. Presumably something like that has really got to be put into the ground with a degree of engineering, I would have thought.
Enormous engineering. So just from your foundation requirement on a steel pole of that size, we are talking about a very technical foundation here. You would need engineering sign-off on this. Your design of this pole, you must understand also this pole must be workable. You must have a gearing system in there to hoist this flag and bring the flag down again. If they're opting for a manual system or electronic system, there's going to be some form of gears involved here. There's a lot of elements of how technical they want to go. But one thing you will not be able to get away from is that you are going to require some very strong foundations. You can just imagine the rigging team coming in to erect a pole of that size, and that alone would cost millions of rands.
Thank you very much. Aydonne Samuels, Director of National Flag Branding and Events. So, flags, 30,000 Rand, but you've got to change them every couple of months. The pole, it sounds like we can get it for around 300,000, although we don't have the specs, but it sounds like the department doesn't have any great clarity on what their plans are at the moment. But yeah, we're a long way from 22 million Rand, it would seem. And even if we weren't, I think the general consensus from everyone who has bothered to call into 702 and beyond is that, nope, we don't think so. We don't need it. It's not a great idea.
News.
Experts.
Analysis.
Where things stand.
What you need to know. Drive home with John Perlman
On 702.